Come in, take a seat. Please do. Welcome back to our live audience. Welcome back to our online audience, to Europe, Let's Cooperate. Can I just check, ladies and gentlemen in the room, that your phones are indeed on silent? Let me take a quick poll. Who had one of those chocolate squares in the coffee area? Who had more than one of the chocolate squares in the coffee area? Nobody? Are you sure? Okay. So, this second session builds on the first. In the first one, we heard why the program is so important, some of its headline achievements from the different kinds of stakeholders, what they value from it, and we also had a little bit of thought and discussion about its status. What will the future bring that is still under discussion? So that's not something that we can close off in the course of this event. This session, as I said, with these good people here, is going to take you even further behind the scenes, because we're really going to see what's been happening on the ground and how the program has impacted specific regions. And we're going to look at the policy changes that have come out of it, and we're also going to focus a little bit on the legacy. This isn't sort of smash and grab and go, but what does it mean in an ongoing perspective, okay? So could you please give, you can hold your applause till the end, a very warm welcome to Diane Smith of the Town and Country Planning Association in the UK. She is lead partner of the Perfect project entitled Planning for Environment and Resource Efficiency in European Cities and Towns. You can give her actually a very warm round of applause. For some reason, sitting as far away from her as it's possible on the sofa, I didn't orchestrate this setup. But this is all about cooperation, ladies. There you go. Look, I've embarrassed them now. Is Nuria Alvarez, who is at the Forest Sciences Centre of Catalonia in Spain, and your lead partner of the BIDREX project, from biodiversity data to decisions. I like that. Enhancing natural value through improved regional development policies. You may also give her a very warm round of applause, please. And then on her left, we have Sara Minicini from the Bretagne Development Innovation in France. And she is representing the lead partner of the Setup project. Tricky one to explain, perhaps, the whole smart grids, entitled Smart Energy Transition to Upgrade Regional Performance. You may also give her a very warm round of applause. And rarely, sir, does a man get, what's the word I'm looking for? Oh, there are less men on the panel. Sorry, I didn't sound very erudite. It's very, very rare in my line of work, but you are amongst some lovely women. We have here Councillor Paulo Agua from the municipality of Fundão in Portugal, and he's representing one of 8 partners in the Osiris project entitled Open Social Innovation Policies Driven by Co-Creative Regional Innovation Ecosystems. So you may give him a warm round of applause so he feels right. So, ladies and gent, you sort of know how the discussions are going to go. I'm going to focus on each of you, if I may, hold some questions till we've heard from all of you, and try and keep our discussion shaped so that we can all grasp what the benefits, what the starting points are, when things happened from each of them in turn. Very interesting, your project. We were chatting before because as I said, and as you well know, this is also about delivering long-term benefits. And so you were involved in the Interreg 4C Grabs project, so from the previous programming period, and the knowledge and results of that are ongoing. So it's considered quite pioneering because of all of this mix between the regions, this knowledge spreading for quite a long time, and how all the stakeholders cooperated. So the obvious first question is to say, what was happening on the ground? How did this come about?
Okay, thank you for inviting me here today, and I thought I perhaps should start with the elephant in the room, just to say, personally, this may be the last time. In the words of Mick Jagger, I don't know. We could be out on Friday, it may be May. It's down to May. It may be the end of the year. It may be never, but it's a great sadness for me personally to find that the UK is in this tragic position. So that's it. Don't ask any more questions. That's it. Don't know any more. So yeah, it's 11 years ago that we, as the Town and Country Planning Association, started to be involved with Interreg projects, and that was the GRABS project, which I believe was quite pioneering at the time. I've had a very warm welcome today from Nicolas Sanger, but I do recall having a few battles with him at Interreg all those years ago about the role of green infrastructure and adaptation, and that was the key to the GRABS project. And it was a 3-year project, and in many ways very successful, recognised actually in getting a Regio Stars Award, which was the first Interreg 4C occasion for getting a Regio Stars Award. And one of the key things that we found in that first project was something called the green space factor, which was instrumental in the redevelopment of Malmö. And it was basically a principle whereby you could value the role of green infrastructure in any new development. And it became a key part in getting any new development agreed, that you had to tick so many boxes. And during the lifetime of the GRABS project, and indeed subsequently, many of the partners continued to work and develop this basic principle, one of whom was indeed Bratislava. And Bratislava, through Karlovo Vez, which is a municipality, identified, when we were putting the perfect project together, that actually, although Slovakia had moved on considerably in its recognition of green infrastructure actually having a strategic role, it was only to do with adaptation, and therefore they saw the perfect project as being the right vehicle to enable them to build further on the knowledge within Slovakia of the economic value of green infrastructure as well as its adaptive capacity.
I think, and thank you, because I think also that's something else that perhaps didn't come up as such, but I know the last 2 gentlemen I'm going to invite to stage at the end actually to talk about the platform. It's this building on of knowledge. It's important to say in this sharing, when I was talking about adapting, it's building on knowledge. What's obviously important, and particularly in terms of, you know, educating policymakers, having them come into the mix, you know, making sure within the stakeholder group at large, what is the policy change that you achieved? You know, what was actually happening? What was the improvement in the regional situation?
Okay, so building on the GRABS project, the first thing that we established, this is a terrible slide in terms of you...
Sell it, go on, sell it.
Yeah, it breaks all the rules of what you can read and what you can see, but basically, this is the magic matrix. We like acronyms. You've seen perfect. MAGIC is for the multi-advantages of green infrastructure in cities, okay? So it's called the magic matrix, and what it did was to build on the original intention of only linking it with green infrastructure, with adaptation. And so in the left-hand column, you can see the type of green infrastructure intervention that might occur, and then across you can see the impact it can have locally, nationally, regionally. And it was this very document that enabled our partner in Slovakia to influence their managing authority to increase the priority in the next call towards investing in green infrastructure. And one of the key ways they were able to do that was by very intelligently choosing their stakeholders. And so the managing authority were indeed part of the stakeholder contingent. And they therefore learnt at first hand some of the benefits and the economic benefits in particular, which is the thing that tends to change hearts and minds. So that was the first policy influence. The second, though, was that Slovakia has a new act in process on landscape and... I always forget exactly what it is. Just one moment.
Maybe it's the bit you've got highlights
yourselves.
there. That's okay. Go on. They've got a new act. Okay.
It's landscape and nature protection. That's right. And by using this particular approach, the Magic Matrix, they got 800 supporters because they did an analysis of green infrastructure in the Bratislava region. And the 800 supporters enabled the partner to actually join the negotiating phase with the ministry on this new act. Okay. And the outcome, which they believe will be ratified later this year, is that municipalities now will have the right to include a green infrastructure plan in their local policies.
Okay. So I think what's helpful, you said, oh, this is not a very good example, but where it is a good example is that you talked about the economic benefits changing hearts and minds, as we say, but also data and evidence, things that are clearly, set out there, where there is a backup, where there is evidence. Those are the things that also sell, where there is concrete proof. The obvious question is, and it's very interesting hearing the journey, the narrative of the sort of the pebble in the pond and who it has touched, is the concrete effects for the region. I mean, you've talked about how people change their minds, what happened, what is the concrete impacts?
One of the key things, again, that they've done, this particular partner, is to work very closely with the community. And green infrastructure is something that, again, touches and affects everybody. And so one of the things that we've developed, again, in Perfect, is a board game that you can actually work with people of totally mixed skills, abilities and knowledge, including, obviously, communities, where they work together to introduce new plans, to introduce new ways of their neighbourhood developing over the next few years. So I would say from the Slovakian perspective that they've managed to engage from the ministry all the way through to schools and local communities. Green infrastructure is a commodity. They understand that. It's also a language that people understand. But it's through this magic matrix that you can find the common denominators where somebody will say, oh yeah, that will work. We now really understand that it's not just having a nice park. Yeah. There are some very true benefits
underpinned by proper benefits. And I just have to ask, who came up with the word magic matrix?
I think I did.
Oh, okay.
She says modestly.
Okay, that's very, very clear, and thank you. And clearly you're very passionate about it. I mean, you have a very, very strong knowledge. And again, just to say, what an interesting narrative, what a journey it has had thus far. So I'll hold things there for a moment, and I will turn to you, Nuria, please. And remember, it's like we're having a chat in a cafe. That's what I said to you, because the point is, I get to do this in my native tongue, and that's all fine, isn't it, Diane? As you will say, it's easy for us, but you don't, and I am always absolutely highly respectful of those who share a stage with me and just rattle things off in English when it's not their first language. So, we talked about you being lead partner of the BidRex project. This is all about biodiversity. Again, what was happening in the region? What was the kind of starting point for all of this? Hang on, I think he's going to...
Yeah, no,
you can be heard.
Well, first of all, I'm very happy for being here today. Yeah, and to respond to this question, I think that first of all, I have to briefly explain what is biodiversity information, because sometimes people doesn't understand what we are talking about. No? Biodiversity basically is all the plants and animals and landscapes, habitats, all the natural values that we have in our countries, in our regions. And to better manage them, we need information. Where are they? How many are there? What can affect them? Or are they endangered? What can we do to help them? This is a basic information, and it's clearly related about to take better decisions, evidence-based decisions, to achieve many of our international goals and objectives now, like the European Strategy for Biodiversity 2020 or the Aichi targets. This information is very important to take decisions considering nature, and to create also green infrastructure. And in Catalonia, we have a high-quality information about this, but this is not integrated. We have this information scattered in different research centers, universities, NGOs. And when we need to respond a challenge or a question, for example, if a politician needs information very quickly to take a decision, it's very difficult to provide this information because first this information has to be required to each source, then aggregated, integrated, analyzed, and finally, maybe we are able to respond to the question. This doesn't work very well. And we decided to, we need to make something to solve this situation. We need a platform or an entity or something to put all the information together and use very quickly and in a very efficient way.
And also, obviously, the challenge here is that the information is very scattered, very fragmented, but very diverse. Just before we move on to the sort of the policy change that you achieved, there must have had to be some kind of harmonization within that data collection. You needed to really...
Yeah, well, fortunately, we have the directive Inspires, which lets people to put all the information together following some rules of how to standardize and harmonize this. And, well, this is a good standard to follow for putting all this information together.
Okay. So you use the words efficient so that you can access it very efficiently and speedily, so that you can respond fast. So what was the exact policy change that came about as a result of this?
Well, in Catalonia, we had this need when we didn't know how to solve or how to find a solution. And we decided to take part in Interreg Europe project because we know that there were some different regions with another very interesting approaches of solving this question. And thanks to Interreg, we have been in touch with a colleague from Norfolk, from United Kingdom, who has showed us this very inspirational good practice coming from the National Biodiversity Network Atlas. I strongly recommend you to look into the Google. It's very easy, and it's a very beautiful platform that you can go there. And if you are from United Kingdom, it's a very beautiful place to show all the natural values that are there. Okay. And this platform was very inspirational. Was a multi-sources platform. The platform has information coming from all the institutions coming from England. This information is aggregated, and it's very easy to use and reuse and analyze in a very quickly way. Now, just make a search.
And so what was the link with, how did that affect you in a policy-making perspective?
Well, in the fifth workshop held in Norfolk, some people from the Catalan government was in Norfolk, and they were very inspired for this platform, and they decided to create a Catalan observatory of natural heritage. In parallel to the Bitrex project, there was being elaborated the natural heritage and biodiversity strategy of Catalonia was being elaborated during the same in parallel to the Bitrex project, and the team was the same. And people from the Catalan government decided to get the lessons learned in Bitrex and put inside the new natural heritage strategy, which is very, well, it's something impressive for us. And now there is one specific action for the creation of this new observatory based in the example of the NBN Atlas, which is very, well, for us, has solved a problem that has been in Catalonia during many years, and now we have an answer, and we are working to implement this.
So what is the word you most used?
the word, I don't know, inspiration?
Yes, very good. So these people got it right when I asked them to do the word cloud. And the second one, which is what I said to Erwin, was solution. I think you said solve a problem. Solve a problem. This is what it's obvious we're trying to get back to, that it's not just all fluff and air, it's very, very specific.
Yeah.
And of course, that's the same question that I asked Diane in terms of effects. That's important. It's kind of the end of the chain, the effects and going forward. Can you just sum those up?
Well, this has effects obviously in the decision makers, which will have all the information available for them, but also this kind of platform will facilitate society's governance related to environmental decisions, because if the information is usable for everybody and is accessible online, this can be used for citizens, for entities, for environmental consultancies, also for these promoters of new infrastructures, or this can change many sectors. They will be able to consider nature in their next decisions.
That's really interesting, because you pick up on exactly what Diane had said. That's what it's about. I think Diane described it as this aha moment. Okay, I see the benefits. So it's very, very widespread. And I think, again, it's this issue that in this day and age when everybody is screaming out about, fake news and so on, this evidence, these facts, this data gathering is absolutely critical. And it underpins so many, what you said, decision making. Okay, well, thank you for that. I will hold that just there for a moment, and I'm going to turn to the lady from Brittany, Sara Minicini. So this is all about, maybe perhaps a tricky topic, smart grids. People hear a lot about smart cities, smart grids, smart cars. So just in a nutshell, you can tell us what that is, and also in the context of what was your starting point in your region.
So thanks, Katrina. I will start from the regional framework that can probably help understand what a smart grid is. So you probably know that Brittany is a peninsula, and this is true from a geographical point of view, but also in energy terms, because we are at the very end of the electric grid. And as such, we face some important challenges. Our local energy production, for example, covers only 15% of the energy needs of the region. At the same time, of course, there is an energy consumption that is rising. And as we are at the end of the grid, we are very vulnerable. There is a vulnerability to power shortages. And at the same time, we have very important natural and economic resources to exploit. So in order to face these challenges and, of course, meet our energy transition objectives, developing smart grids became a priority for our region. And smart grid were the solution to for increasing, for example, energy efficiency, to improve our energy supply safety, and most importantly, integrate renewables into the grid. So several initiatives have been launched at the regional level in the last few years. But when we launched SETUP together with the 5 other partner regions and an advisory partner, we really wanted to understand how a public authority can better support the development of smart grids at regional level. So how to support this transition from a very centralized traditional energy system to a decentralized energy system.
And let me just ask you, who were those others, the 5?
The other partners.
Yes,
so we were.
What country? Which?
So Andalusia, from Spain, Algarve from Portugal, Hungary, Lithuania, and Leicester in the UK are representing the represented regions. And an advisory partner in the UK as well.
Okay, so interesting. So that really was a kind of maybe a mindset shift also. You said from passing from central to decentralized. That was something. And tell us, so, yeah, go on.
So just what I think it's important is to underline the approach we had with setup. So when we think about smart grids, we often think about technologies, so something quite complicated to understand. But as public authorities, we looked also at the social dimension of smart grids. We analyzed the role of consumers in this energy transition process. And we also considered the economic dimension, so new business models or business approaches that need to be developed. And of course, we consider the financial dimension, and we really try to understand how to better use public funding in order to make this process successful.
Okay, and that's interesting because I think there you underline a little bit that kind of golden triangle that we spoke of, or I mentioned at the end of the first session. It's economic, environmental, and social. So yes, what was the specific? Tell us a bit more about the specific change and also the effects.
So. Smart grids is a relatively new topic, so setup was really very important that allowed us basically to compare different approaches and understand the major trends in Europe. And I think that one of the main lessons we learned together with our partners is the importance of consumer engagement in this process. Again, I'm talking about consumers, but are really at the core of the process. And this lesson is actually supporting today one of the actions of our action plan, which is a call for projects focused on collective self-consumption. This is a model that encourages consumers to produce their own energy and also be involved in the management of the energy consumption and energy savings. And this lesson came from different activities and exchanges we had with all partners. They just mention one. I think that when we analyze the self-consumption as a business model, again, this economic dimension that is always there, it was really, really important and really useful in order to understand all the different elements we should take into consideration in the development of a new model like this one. So this was really, really helpful to share visions in order to turn an idea into action and really value it, understand the need for a greater consumer engagement.
And also with that understanding and that value, you get more longevity. I mean, you get more ownership, you get more sustainability of it. And anything else that you want to be specific about in terms of the effect?
Probably another policy change. So we still talk about a call for projects, and this time is about energy storage, which of course is one of the main factors that allows the transition to an energy system that integrates renewables. So it's one of our action in our action plan, and again, we discuss a lot with our partners about this topic. That is a clear challenge for several countries, and we analyzed and we try to understand what different technologies are used in other countries, what are the funding programs, for example, available, or the projects supported, and we did it in different stages of the project, during workshop, during bilaterals, and the result of this is that in our call for projects that have been launched in February this year, there is a new selection criteria that has been involved, a criteria that allows to consider different technologies and open up to different solutions.
Okay. And any last sort of roundup on any other effects? I mean, you spoke of consumer engagement. It's very, very clear on the policy change. Anything else that you haven't raised that you wish to add?
So I think as lessons learned, so consumer engagement first, collaboration is one of the main lessons we took from the project, and we are talking about collaboration today, but even in this process of making the system, the energy system smarter, it's really important that all different stakeholders are involved from the private and public sector. And of course, the importance of renewables for our future, our challenges related to climate change, and this is the role of public authorities is very important in the support of this shift to another system.
But it's interesting, you've localized climate change, you've localized also digitization, and you've done all this by, I use your own words, understanding major trends and doing a lot of analysis. And again, that seems to be the key benefit that you've brought from those other 5 areas and from working together. Okay.
Yeah, definitely.
Can I park it there just for a moment, just in case I have any time to take questions from the floor? Again, so I come to you at the end, and I'm not sure to the extent you were involved directly in the project, but you've been very informed in the project. Am I? What was your engagement?
I arrived, we're almost in the end of the project.
Oh, brilliant. Okay, well, we won't hear from you then.
I was the lucky one. I just had the joy of the...
Did everybody pat you on the back for your success, but you actually didn't do anything?
No, I did my small part.
You did your small part. Tell us about your small part, and tell us about what the situation was. What was the starting point? How did it all kick off?
A big thank you very much from the Osiris team in Fundão, because they were very happy about this invitation.
Okay.
Thank you. And Fundão, it's quite in the interior of Portugal, and it's a small community. For our standards, it has about 30,000 inhabitants in 700 square kilometers, which means statistically we have 40-something people per square kilometer. But there are some areas where we have a lot more sheep than people, as happens in many places. But the problem in the countryside, this is normal. The problem was inside the town. We had some areas with many people, and the historical part of the town, which for us is extremely important because was the base of the original commerce of the town, where we have the craft artisans, the commerce of the fresh goods, all that was about dying. And we started to do a lot of projects trying to recover this area, like to improve the mobility for people over there, renewing the paths in the way like older people can walk without obstacles, making sure the traditional commerce could open at different hours to receive people. But we understood this was not enough. That was not enough to create more jobs. And if we don't have new jobs, if we don't have movement, probably we can risk not only being interesting to receive new people, we can lose the ones that we have over there. Yeah. And that was our main task in this moment, was to guarantee that we could have some social improvement on that area that would allow us to remain the people we had there living and working, and especially to make things happen in a way of creating new jobs, creating new activities, and we had the opportunity of this participation in the Osiris and look for other places, looking for partners, and to see what they were doing, and that really worked for us.
Okay, so you submitted a funding request for. Tell us about what you brought about for a design factory. So. Tell us a little bit about what happened. What was the policy change?
Together, we had working for a couple of years, a fab lab, more looking for the technological estate we have in Fundão. The problem was we have a beautiful net of craft artisans. We have like artisans on pottery, on tapestry, and many craft artists, and they were not working in net, and we're trying to make them work in net, and we also trying to have some innovation in these sectors. And when we went to visit some of our partners, like in Holland, we understood perfectly that it was possible to the craft sector could be effectively a creator of jobs, a creator of innovation, and also being extremely challenging for the people, because we could put new products on the market using the old technology that our artisans could share with new people. Also,
just to hold that thought. So you said, did you say from Holland? Did you say where else
Holland.
did you?
Holland.
Where
it
else
was in.
With whom else did you cooperate?
Drenthe. I cannot pronounce very well the name of the place. Drenthe. That was and they have like a big investment on this area of the craft job, where we understood that this sector could be one of the ways we could improve job and movement in that area. Other partners in Sweden, working together with the university, they had something looking like our Fab Lab, but putting together students and researchers and creative people, all working together to develop new products. What we understood that we could follow that type of idea, but adapting to our reality. And on the time we didn't have students, we had mainly entrepreneurs, we had people by itself that wanted to invest, to work, and we had also companies that were interested in these areas. And what we thought about doing was to put them together. We had partners. Yes, that's the building.
And how many people does it hold? Or how many? Well, difficult to say, I suppose, depending on the groups.
It depends, because we had a co-working. The idea is to have a co-working space too, which allowed a lot of people being, how do you call, changing and
put
working
in a tumble dryer.
Exactly.
No, I'm joking with you. That was your mind. Put in a tumble dryer, changing. Okay.
Well, tumble dryer is a little bit hard for the people, but this is the picture is not very good, but it's exactly in the center of the historical part of the town. And this together with the idea about developing and support and give, we want to have the shops too over this region. And we want mainly that this start to be like the engine of the development of all this area from center to the sides.
So it's a little bit what I said about this pebble ripple effect. And do you do you already have people who are signed up to use it? Who are ready to go in 2020?
Because we have the Fab Lab completely full in this moment. We're trying to get new areas to put people working and give them the opportunity to work with us with all the equipment we have there, like 3D project machinery, all the technicians we have there. But the idea in the design factory, it's bring more to basics, like to our crafts, to the people that are still there and can share the knowledge they have with young followers.
So there's an intergenerational exchange.
Exactly, and I think it's the only way we manage not to lose the people that's still remaining over there.
That leads to my last question, only because I've got my eye on the clock and we might have a couple of questions. So you said we needed to make the place attractive, we needed to stop people leaving, we needed to have some respect for the history of it, what it was all about. For those, you said, new products using old techniques, needed to create jobs. So you've been very clear. Any other effects?
No, the main effect we want is to do some change in the use of the streets around there. Like we're closing some of the streets, we're trying to make them more friendly for people. I think it's fundamental in this type of town to have a center where people feel comfortable walking and having their time, not only the basic shopping and working, but also to bring to that part of the town most of the life that the town had before in that area.
Okay, that sounds great. I'll be very curious to see how that all sort of continues thereafter.
You're invited.
Thank you very, very much. Okay, I'm going to park. So the first thing is these good people are around. If you want to talk to them further, they are around. So maybe I won't take Slido because Slido questions are being curated. I will just check first if there's anything from the house now that we've got another functioning microphone. Is any hot question that you think other people would benefit from hearing apart from your good self? Okay. Oh, you would have to be 95 rows back, wouldn't you? I'm not even going to try. That's just scary. Okay. Look, everybody's doing this. Okay. Oh, not bad, not bad. Okay, very good. Accompanied by some hefty noise there. Okay. Do you feel quite good with that or a little bit silly?
I feel perfect with it.
Perfect, okay.
So,
all right.
my name is Matthias Kuhlmann. I'm coming from Berlin. I'm from the Senate Department for Economic Affairs in Berlin. I'm among the lucky ones who have a peer review on the policy learning platform. My question, I have a very big question. I'm working my entire life with European funds. I'm working my entire life on a transnational level, involved in many program activities. I want to pose a questions to our colleagues from Great Britain, moderator, guest London, in terms of a very important question.
Okay.
What do you think? How can you transfer your findings, your knowledge from the European structural funds, in this case here, in the interregional cooperation projects, in the mainstream of UK policy and make it more concrete in the mainstream of the
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to park it there if that's okay. So how can you transfer that into mainstream? Good, you've got a question because she said she didn't know how much longer she'd be here. That was your answer. Hang on a second. Let me just see if there's any, is there anyone else who would like to have this very tall man throw this microphone very gently at them? Okay, just bear with me a second because there's somebody nearer and I'll come to you. In the end of the... Perfect, I've understood. Thank you, thank you. There's a gentleman, I think, there. You can do a small throw. Oh, it's a handover.
Thank you.
Scaredy cat, okay.
I'm Rusev from European Academy. I have a question for you. The question is, do you know the 2nd February 2022 start Interreg TV? Do you know? No?
No, Interreg
And-
TV?
Yes.
Right.
And I have a question for you. Do you feel like stars?
Do you feel like stars? Do you feel like what?
Stars. Film stars. Because it's a charming meeting here.
Because
Because there is one charming meeting with good results.
okay.
I think that we can contact for moderators.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. I think I grasped that. You might need to help me afterwards, Eilish. Sorry, I'm probably in slight panic mode. Thank you very much, sir. Right, I'm going to hold that thought. Hold on your mic. Oh, yeah, go on. I think you can, hang on, we won't speak now. I'll talk to Diane, but take the mic now. I'm just doing the, hang on.
Because I project my voice.
Oh my God, I will take it anyway, just in case. It's coming, go for it. This is the thing about the throwing microphone.
No,
You don't really feel comfortable throwing it. Go on.
No, my name is Ana Cruz. I come from Portugal.
Hold it a bit higher. If you can.
Like this?
Yeah, much better. And nice and concise, please.
My name is Ana Cruz. I come from Portugal, and I am very happy to find my country fellows in here.
Yeah.
I thought that the speakers from before
The plenary, but previous plenary, yeah.
would be here. That's why I didn't ask this question. But
Okay, can you just come right to the point? Thank you.
In the director from Interreg presentation, he showed a slide with the map of Europe.
Yes.
Related to good practice database. And I've noticed that in Portugal, there are none.
Okay.
Yeah. This is very important. They are in Spain, but not in Portugal.
Okay.
Okay, so we are Iberia, of course, but we are two countries separated.
Okay.
So I think it would be very important for Portugal to have one to be aligned with the other fellows in Europe.
Okay, I'm going to park it because I want to keep with this session, and I think that's something that the colleagues of the gentleman who's left need to take into account, and maybe a further discussion with them. So, because time is of the essence, if that's fine, let me just stay with these good people here.
Yeah. So then, just one very small. I would like to know if in the middle of this crowd there are somebody interested between green and heritage as a bionivocal relationship that will end in tourism.
Okay, make sure you put that, because there are networking tools to do that. Make sure you put that in that tool, okay?
In my table.
Okay, right, thank you very much. We've had some very feisty women today, but I am a feisty woman, so I think that's okay. And actually, I really like it, I've got to say. So, let me come back to you, please, Diane. So what about that, about the mainstreaming?
Yeah, that's what I think the question was. In terms of green infrastructure, it's something that all the speakers have touched upon as well. I think you only ever get policy change if there is an economic advantage you can absolutely specify and evidence. And one of the things with green infrastructure is that it can, if done well, tick all three boxes of environmental, social and economic benefits. And we did indeed publish an expert paper on this topic called Health, Wealth and Happiness. And if you take just the health argument, green parks, lovely, nice to walk along leafy streets, etc. But there is now documented evidence that the incidence of mental health is greatly reduced in tree-lined street areas in cities. That the health benefits of air quality around schools and other areas can actually now be evidenced. And it is, of course, the use of green infrastructure which helps with that. And so, going right back to the magic matrix at the beginning, what that does is to say, okay, you want to invest in a new pocket park within a local area. That's all very well, but there's a bigger park, people could go in their gardens, why are you going to do it? And now there is a method to say, well, actually, in addition to just being able to walk there, there is a biodiversity benefit, there is a health benefit, there is a cultural and social benefit because there's a bigger open space. And indeed, the more green infrastructure you can have in a city, the greater the international competitiveness of that particular town or city. So there are arguments that can be used.
Okay, I'm going to park it there. I'm not, so for all of those questions on sort of good practices, matchmaking, peer review, I'm going to leave the people who've asked those, I'm going to leave that to Interreg to note that and to deal with that perhaps at another point in this event. The one thing, because we need an outro, because I cannot go too much over time and I've got two gentlemen, no, they've gone. We're not even doing the outro. If you could sum up. One sentence, I mean one, to sum up your main achievement. Literally, what would it be? One sentence.
One sentence.
Just one from you, lovely lady. Sarah, what would it be?
I think that's it's really important that public authorities cooperate.
Okay, that's good.
No,
yeah, no, that's good. I think
short.
No, that's short is good. From you, please. What's the one? Literally one achievement. That's what you've been asked by these good people. 9 people. What would it be?
Well, I think that some other regions have the solution, and you have to found this, not open your mind, go to cooperation, and find a solution in other regions of Europe. And synergies will appear
like
easily.
magic, like
Yeah.
magic matrices. Okay, so we've got the role of the local authorities there, the importance and their understanding. You've got the cooperation within a wider community that has knowledge. One sentence, what would you say?
I would say engage as many people as possible from the community right through to the minister that will sign the new policy at the end.
Okay, yes, good, important point to make. You, sir, one sentence?
One sense, we just want to motivate the locals to make bridges with the new ones and share knowledge, because if they don't accept each other, we'll have a problem. And our main job now is making sure that the bridges work.
Yeah.
If they work, we'll be perfect.
And I think I will translate that as saying one of your main achievements indeed is making work together, but it's also, you really answered a very, very specific set of circumstances, and that is also very, very interesting. So well done. Thank you very, very much to all of you. Can you please give these good people a round of applause? They are around. Go and find them during lunchtime. I am graciously allowed to liberate you, because otherwise you're going to have to squash up even more on a sofa. No, don't go anywhere, ladies and gentlemen. We have two people who are just going to talk to you. This is very... Don't worry. No. You may go by the front. Okay. We're going to hear from two last speakers very briefly who are going to be very eloquent about the policy learning platform, because this is very important for those of you who might be more newcomers of how you can take further advantage of Interreg Europe. So can I please invite to the stage Magnus Ernström from the region of Gävleborg in Sweden, and Peter Heidebreck, who is lead manager of the policy learning platform. You may give them a very, very warm round of applause. Now, we're going to talk, there had been a question there on the difference between peer review and matchmaking. Maybe you'll partly be able to answer it, because I think that you made this improvement to regional policy through a peer review that was facilitated by the policy learning platform, which in theory, you can tell us if it is true, is easy, fast, flexible.
Yeah, I think it really is. We actually had a project that...
There it is. Is that it?
Yes, it was around this project. Actually, we've been, from the region of Gävleborg, we've been taking part in different Interreg projects for a very long time, mostly coordinated by the city of Gävle, our capital in the region.
Hold it a bit closer.
Closer.
Yeah. Oh, perfect. They're so happy now. Yeah, you need to hold it there.
In our first innovation strategy from 2010-2011, the first two words were smart specialization. And that was not a hot topic in 2010, but it has since become. And it's making a strategy about smart specialization forces you to handle very complex issues. So since then we've had new strategies, but they usually end up talking about what and why. Mm-hmm. Let's have peace on earth because everyone will be happy. Okay, so how do we fix the crisis in Syria? Now it's getting complex and complicated, but we have to find the impact of our policies to make a difference. Mm-hmm. If we want new technology to be used out in the real world, we have to have better impact, better deployment using our strategies.
Okay.
And that's one of the things that we wanted to do with the peer review, is finding a better how. We've developed a model using a lot of Interreg projects before, but now we had more of an acute stage.
Okay, so let me just be specific. Yeah. So let's move from Syria very briefly to what the model was, because I know that your peer review engaged peers from the Netherlands and from Spain. So just in a nutshell, what was it about? What did you get? Because you had information already, you needed to move it on a stage. Just in a nutshell.
Yes, it has to do with the picture you see about the first electric highway on public highway in the world, actually.
Okay.
And the picture isn't taken today, but it looked like that when I left my hometown this morning. And this is the real world. Everything has to work. I have a small note here. It has to be practical and usable. Sure. You have to take into account the sustainability aspects, both economical, environmental, and social. You have to think about procurability. competition, legislation, regulation, taxation, maintenance, safety and security, industrial upscaling. And all of this has to be done in collaboration between private and public partners. And there's always this organizational immune defense. And addressing that and finding the windows of innovation is what we used the peer review for. And it was very powerful to have the experience from others in Europe, looking into our problems and validating our models. So it was very powerful.
Okay, and you felt that that was going to provide that kind of missing link for you. And now you've said it was powerful. It addressed some very, very specific issues. How does that concretely translate on what that does for you next? What can you do, or what are you doing with that information?
We're looking into how we work within our organization and how we work towards other organizations concerning building around this project, basically. So it's had already a very big impact for how we get the impact from our strategies, basically.
And did you find that those who were involved were was it very different, the input that you got from the Netherlands and Spain? Was there commonalities?
The commonality is the professionality. Very different regions with different problems, but they were perfectly picked for our needs.
Okay.
So the policy learning platform has done a very good job in finding the partners that could give us the most and that we could give the most to. So it was a very inspiring meeting. And we really succeeded in building collaborational ability to create good practice. So it's the ability, not the practice itself. It's the ability that really we were given through this peer review.
Okay. Thank you. You've been very, very clear. Thank you. And also on the amount of things I think that you have to think about in a project, and where coming to the platform helped you to kind of unpick some of those and find solutions. So again, we heard the word inspiring. Let me turn to you. You're lead manager of the platform, and you were also involved in the supporting the peer review in Gävleborg. So what can you add to that? What was your experience? Because that was a very positive one there. It was perfect matching.
Yeah, so I have to start with explaining that in normal cases I tend to be very grumpy. When it comes to the peer reviews in general, and particularly to the one that I had the privilege of attending in Gävleborg region, I'm enthusiastic. I mean, you said, was it easy, efficient and everything? Maybe not necessarily. Was it highly beneficial and necessary? Yes. At a general level, I think it contributed to overcoming the main barriers to action. One is denial. It's very difficult to admit to someone in your home region that you face a problem if you fear you're the only one having that problem. If you hear that other leading regions have the same difficulties, it provides a lot of tailwind for positioning yourself in the region. And the second major challenge is hybris. Now, at the Högboom meeting, we were far away from it. But still, every now and then, someone said, I think no one has done this. Or I think I'm the only one having done this. And there was a colleague saying, no. They do that in the harbor of Rotterdam. No, they do that there. Cool. So it was immediately initiating collaboration. So that is at a very general level. At a more specific level, I'm happy to say that it has already led to forming a small consortia for going on with very specific initiatives, amongst others, if I'm allowed, for making advertisement for a non-Interreg activity here, also from Energy. When it comes to Interreg, I know you haven't put the question, but I still take the privilege of making 2 sentences about it. I'm dead frightened about ticking the box mission completed. So if we say we've had enough of peace, we've had enough of education, we've had enough of transnational collaboration, so be it. But if you think it's worthwhile having these values in Europe, there is a necessity to continue with Interreg. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I think that deserves a round of applause. Absolutely, and I think just to say that's perfect that I've got you here to round off, because I'm going to park things here now. I'm conscious of the time, but that's a fabulous last comment that you just nailed there, which was to say it overcomes denial. It helps to be able to say, I'm not, yeah, they are, to persuade other people, even to get some kind of engagement nationally. That would be also quite, so that proliferation outwards. So, just to see, can we see on Slido? Should we see? Are you planning to apply for a peer review? Can we see? Maybe? A yes or a no? I don't know if we're able technically. Could anybody exercise their thumbs? Yes, we are. Sorry, I was looking for it down there. Still hesitating. 50% yes for sure. 40%. Go on, what can you say to the... Oh, look, they've already changed. I was about to give you that option, Peter. What will you say is the last thing to get them to... But look, it's already shifting. It's a no-brainer.
Well, if 7% of you say maybe not, to me that means that 93% are somehow planning to do it and the other 7% are considering doing it. And that is an overwhelming enthusiastic response. Thank you very much. The good news is that from today onwards, there is a new call open. And even though you didn't put the question, but I had the answer prepared, the second call is now open. Now, I'm a kind of an old-fashioned guy. Of course, you can apply for it and you can have more information on our website, but this is a human approach. We have real individuals, and not only today, but particularly today, you have the opportunity of meeting them. So if I might ask my colleagues from the Policy Learning Platform to stand up and say, yes, we are the ones to contact when it comes to peer reviews.
Stand to the audience, wave, give them a round of applause. You can't make them stand up without jazz hands. Thank you very much. Thank you to the gentleman with the jazz hands in particular. I like that. Okay, so...
And we, the full team, are dedicated to helping you from day one, when you not even have decided whether to apply for a peer review or not. When you just consider it, you need someone to discuss with, to find partners, to plan for the event, to run the event, to document the event, to follow on. We are the ones supporting you to make you shine and become more competitive.
Thank you very much. I like that, and I'm very sorry I did not pronounce Gävleborg in any way correctly after lying to you that I spoke Swedish. I don't speak Swedish, it's obvious. Okay, can you please give both these gentlemen a very warm round of applause? Right. Just to say, I'm going to park things here now. I need to, I am obliged to, because you've got now a 90-minute lunch. Now, if it's going to be cut a little bit shorter to gain time, I am sure that you will be informed mid-bite. After lunch, you've got loads more stuff, thematic sessions, matchmaking, perhaps whoever was confused between matchmaking and peer review will get more clarity, networking zone, policy changes exhibition, and like we just heard from Peter and these good people on the front row, policy learning platform team, okay? Don't forget, making the most of your event, you can find that on your badge. Important for me to say, the organisers would really appreciate your feedback. So there is an online form, there is a free field on the second side of the badge. Whatever inspires you, you need to complete that. Leave it in the box if you're not returning the next day, which is just for Interreg Europe projects. Can I just say thank you very much to all of our speakers for turning up, being whipped into shape by me and downloading the contents of their brain. Thank you, Gerrit, who is there waiting to carry on online, and a big thank you to all of you and to our virtual audience for listening in. I hope you have found it very, very practical. I think what's really interesting, as you say, is it's all about solutions, cooperation, where are the common problems, where are the semi-common problems, how do we find solutions together, how do we adapt them, and how do we give that real power at the regional and local level, which is, as we all know, closest to the European citizen. So, I've got to say, bear with me, is it relevant to this? Yes? Have I missed you? Sorry, have I done something?
Maybe before your comment, I can interrupt very, very briefly. My memory is pretty poor, but I want to apologize for omitting Portugal on the map. That was a design mistake. We have good practices from Portugal covered. And the second one is, whoever of you, and particularly on those following us online, is interested in a continuation of this session, you can follow us, and Elena is going to moderate it. Thank you.
And we're, in fact, as I said before, online now. We are going to go into a bit more detail about that platform, so stay tuned and watch. Get your friends, mates, dogs, grannies to watch. And on that note, I wish you very good luck. Have a very, very good rest of the day, very productive time, and a very safe trip home. Thank you very, very much for your attention.